No DQ Galaxy, we are live with a recap of the longest AEW pay-per-view to date. A pay-per-view that gives the longest WrestleManias a run for their money as far as runtime goes. But there is no shortage of things to talk about, so let's get right into it. It is almost 1 o'clock Eastern time. I know people are busy tomorrow with not tomorrow. It is, in fact, Memorial Day. So that's that. Happy Memorial Day to everyone out there. I hope you enjoy your holiday. Let's get to the show. 13 matches to talk about. That's a lot. 13 matches. One of them was the buy-in show. We had a promo from the Acclaimed and the Ass Boys. They did a little rap to hype up the fans. And then we had our kickoff buy-in match, whatever you want to call it. Hookhausen, Hook and Danhausen against Tony Nese and Smart Mark Sterling. Pretty standard comedy match, nothing too noteworthy. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm going to try to get through the card as quickly as possible here since it's so late. You can go over to nodq.com for full detailed results. I'll just go ahead and talk about a few of the highlights from each match and give my overall thoughts. This kickoff buy-in match was very straightforward, fun little match here where Nese and Sterling got some offense. Hook got the hot tag, cleaned house, and he allowed Danhausen to come in the ring, tag back in, and score the pinfall victory over Sterling. Totally fine. Nothing too much to write home about, though. DJW sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, damn it, Aaron, why isn't Miro or Kenny Omega on my TV screen yet? Miro has been injured. He's been doing other projects. He's part of a TV pilot. Kenny Omega, he's recovering from injuries. That's what's going on with them. Let them heal up. The roster is so bloated right now. Give those guys time to heal up and recover from their injuries. Now, let's get to the main card. I very much appreciate the super chats. If you can, try to stick to the topic. I will try to read the super chats for a particular match. When I get to that match, I'll do the best I can here, so I'm not bouncing all over the place. We had our first match, which was one of the most anticipated matches of the evening. MJF versus Wardlow. And yes, Wardlow was ready to go, and MJF was there to fight Wardlow. A lot of people were wondering, would MJF show up? All the internet rumors about him. MJF did in fact show up. He had a fancy robe, and Wardlow, no fanfare whatsoever. The usual from him. He came out there handcuffed, security, no music. Once the handcuffs were taken off, MJF went to the outside of the ring, stalled for time. And to just sum it up, MJF tried every heel tactic in the book to try and beat Wardlow. Every cheap shot. Crowd actually chanted, "You showed up," or "He showed up" at MJF. But MJF would try to fake a knee injury. He pulled out the dynamite diamond ring. Referee caught him doing that. MJF poked Wardlow in the eyes, bit Wardlow. But eventually, it all meant nothing. Wardlow was a machine that could not be stopped. MJF said he would double Wardlow's pay. They shook hands, but then Wardlow would not let go. Wardlow picked him up, hit him with the power bomb, and we went right into the power bomb symphony, one after another. And I love this gimmick that Wardlow's doing now, where he power bombed MJF for each corner of the arena. And I think he should do that as a full thing, a full-time gimmick moving forward. I believe he hit 10 power bombs total. And like after the 5th or 6th, he went for the cover, put one foot on MJF's chest, but then decided to give him some more punishment. So he hit several more. And yeah, I believe he hit a total of 10 power bombs on MJF and finally put the foot over the chest and got the victory. So it was essentially a glorified squash match. MJF tried every trick in the book to no avail. Wardlow completely dominant. Where does MJF go from here? Everyone's wondering what is next. We'll have to wait and see. It's definitely a hot topic in the world of wrestling. Maybe MJF takes a little bit of time off. Maybe he's right back in the thick of it. I suppose we will see in the near future what's next for MJF. But as far as Wardlow goes, definitely looking like he is going to be the man in AEW. Great showing for him. He is well on his way. And afterwards, MJF was stretchered out. You would think now that MJF will be out of action at least for a little bit. Crowd chanted, "You deserved it" at MJF. And by the way, he got some heavy, heavy boos. Like maybe the loudest I've ever heard for the guy. After the match, when MJF was taken out, it was announced that Wardlow is in fact all elite and he is free from MJF. Wardlow thanked the fans, bowed to them. I mean, great stuff here. Wardlow well on his way to being the flagship player of AEW. We'll see, Walter. We'll see if they actually strap the rocket to Wardlow's back, but definitely looks like it. Next up, we had the Hardy Boys going up against the Hardy cosplayers, so-called, Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks. For their entrance, the Young Bucks had a little parody of Elvis Presley's Viva Las Vegas, but instead of the term Viva Las Vegas, they used the term Super Kick Party. Dueling chants. You had Matt Jackson and Matt Hardy with a little face-off, delete, elite. You had Brandon Cutler out there, and the crowd was actually chanting for Brandon Cutler at one point, and Nick Jackson was not too happy about that. Pretty standard tag team match in the early goings. Matt and Nick Jackson worked over Jeff for a while. Cutler was interfering, preventing a tag, but eventually Jeff hit the whisper in the wind. Matt Hardy came in. Cutler got onto the apron. Matt smashed his head into the turnbuckle. The Bucks did regain the upper hand for a while, but then Nick Jackson accidentally kicked Cutler in the face. Jeff Hardy was having an issue with his boot. He got that taken care of, and that's why he looked off. Something was up with the boot, but he got back in there. The Bucks hit numerous super kicks to the Hardys, and the Hardys were defiant. Matt spit in their face. Jeff flipped them off. The Bucks hit more super kicks, but the Hardys stayed in it. And then the Bucks grabbed the steel steps, and that's when the tide turned. Matt Jackson was laid out on the steps, and Jeff came off the top to the outside with a swanton. And then they were all back in the ring. Matt Hardy hit a twist of fate to Nick. Jeff came off the top with the swanton. and scored the 1-2-3 victory, pinning Nick Jackson. So Hardys got the win here. Good match from these two teams. There was the issue with Jeff that slowed it down a little bit. But all in all, fun match with these guys. Not at the top tier of the Young Bucks matches in AEW, but still pretty entertaining stuff from these guys. Next up, we had Jade Cargill versus Anna Jay for the TBS title. Jade Cargill had some Las Vegas showgirls for her entrance, and Cargill got the early advantage. Anna Jay started to make a comeback, hit a superplex. She built up some momentum, but then Cargill rolled to the outside of the ring, and then you had the outside interference. You had Kiera, Hogan, and Red Velvet, the baddies. They were trying to interfere. Anna Jay took both of them out at the same time with a double DDT, and then we had smart Mark Sterling running down. He tried to get involved. He threw a crutch into the ring, but Anna Jay used the crutch when the referee was distracted. John Silver ran down, took out Mark Sterling, and then Anna Jay put on the Queenslayer submission. Cargill powered out of that. Then all of a sudden we had more interference. We had the former Malcolm Bivens, Stokely Hathaway, making his first appearance in AEW. That caused another distraction. Cargill hit the Jaded coming off the top rope and picked up the victory. Afterwards, there was more chaos. Chris Statlander came down to the ring, and then we had the debut of Athena, formerly Ember Moon, coming down to the ring, and we had a face-off between the faces and the heels. Two debuts in one match. Quite a lot to digest. Maybe this could have been a match on Dynamite. I don't know. I don't really think it needed to be on the pay-per-view. I'm all for the titles being defended on the pay-per-view, but the fact that this show went so long, I think this is one of the matches that could have been on a Dynamite. Maybe the Los Angeles Dynamite, for instance, that's being hyped up as one of the biggest ones of all time. I don't know. Hamp Connell sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Hamp. I appreciate it. He says, this pay-per-view was way too long. Well, long story short, I agree with you on that. I'll go into it a little bit more later on, but yes, I do agree with you that this pay-per-view was too long. I'm pretty exhausted, but we're pushing through it. Next up here, we had the House of Black versus the Death Triangle. And to me, this was really the first match on the show that felt like a high-quality pay-per-view match. MJF and Wardlow was almost more of a storyline than a match, which I like. But as far as guys going out there and just having a killer pay-per-view match, I think this was the first one that really set the bar very high, in my opinion. All six of these guys are awesome. House of Black, Death Triangle. I love the makeup, the face paint that Buddy Murphy has now, or Buddy Matthews, excuse me, and Brody King as well. Like, I feel it gives them, more of an identity as a group. And Matthews really needed it, because before he was standing out like a sore thumb. He needed something changed with his look and his presentation. So this match was awesome. I mean, I'm not going to say too much about it. Just, high impact move after high impact move. Everybody moving at a very fast pace. Just a really fun match. Typically these trios matches are a lot of fun, lots of action. Not really a lot of slow moments. House of Black at one point did slow it down a little bit. And I like all the taunting back and forth, taunting each other's signature poses and whatnot. Lucha Brothers did some cool stuff, stereo dives. Everything started to break down. Everybody hitting big move after big move. And Penta hit Matthews with a destroyer on the apron. Fénix and Penta hit a double stomp DDT combination to King on the outside of the ring. And then Malakai Black was all alone in the ring by himself. He managed to take down the Lucha Brothers with the Black Mass kicks. And Pac was able to take down Black, went for the Black Arrow, but Matthews made the save, and then Matthews was sent to the outside. Pac went up to the top. He was going to hit the Black Arrow. Lights went out, and when they came back on, you had Julia Hart, who was completely turned now. She is fully with the House of Black, and she spit mist in the eyes of Pac. Black capitalized on that, hit the Black Mass kicked, and scored the pinfall victory. Julia Hart now officially part of the House of Black, although it kind of feels like Rhea Ripley being part of Judgment Day, although you could argue Judgment Day is a knockoff of House of Black. I like the fact that she's fully part of the group. It's been teased now for a while, and the match was awesome. It was a lot of fun to watch. Midnight is All Elite sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, I feel like this show had a lot of botches. It definitely had some, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Next up, we had Samoa Joe versus Adam Cole, the finals of the men's Owen Hart tournament. You had 2 championships that were covered up, plus a trophy displayed on the stage. And former WWE referee Mike Chioda, who refereed Owen Hart matches in WWE, he was the referee for this, and that was a nice little touch for this. Crowd was chanting Owen, of course, and this was a very good match, although I feel like if AEW cut some of the matches, we had like 8 matches for the pay-per-view, and this was one of them, this would have been better. I feel like this maybe got cut short a little bit. I don't know. I just felt like it never really kicked into that high gear of what you would expect on an AEW pay-per-view or an NXT takeover pay-per-view from back in the day. You know, it never really got to that next level. It felt like a TV main event. It was a very good match, but I feel like it could have been more. And it was back and forth. Joe selling his shoulder throughout the match, the whole injury angle with Jay Lethal attacking him. But Joe stayed in it, and then we had some outside interference. You had Bobby Fish coming out there and interfering, taking a cheap shot when the referee was distracted. Joe still managed to get the sleeper submission on Cole, but Fish then got on the apron. And here was like the stupid babyface moment where Joe let go of the hold to go after Fish. And I'm thinking, well, if Fish comes in and causes a DQ, you win the tournament, right? So that was kind of weird. Cole took advantage, of course, and hit the boom kick, scored the victory. I think maybe I would have preferred a clean finish for the final match of the Owen Hart tournament, but it is what it is. They wanted to protect Joe as much as possible. Overall, like I said, pretty solid, but not a classic or anything. Then we had the other final match of the women's Owen Hart tournament, Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho. You had Richard Ward of Fozzy playing guitar for Britt Baker's entrance, I guess just so she could have a special entrance. And Ruby Soho had Rancid playing her to the ring, which was pretty cool, and I felt like that really got the fans behind Ruby Soho. She got some boos on Rampage the other day, but she was largely cheered here. Although the crowd was into both of them, you had the dueling chants. Ruby also had "It's Time for a Change" on her vest, her ring jacket, paying tribute to Owen Hart, saying enough is enough. It's time for a change. And this was a pretty good match too. Crowd was really into it. Back and forth here for several minutes. Baker hit a curb stomp. Soho kicked out of that. Baker went for the lockjaw submission, but Soho escaped. Hit the no future kick, and then she put on the sharpshooter in tribute to Owen, but Baker managed to get to the rope. And then Baker ended up reversing a victory roll to pick up the win. So no real surprise here. I fully expected Cole and Baker to win, boyfriend and girlfriend winners of the Owen Hart tournaments. I fully expected that. And then afterwards, you had Martha Hart come out there, introduced by Tony Schiavone, to do the whole presentation. The post-match ceremony kind of went on for a while, but you know what? It's Martha Hart's moment, so it's all good. The crowd chanted, "Thank you, Martha." She thanked the fans, and then she revealed the championships. Those were pretty cool. Adam Cole and Britt Baker each got a championship as well as their names on the trophy. Looks like this is going to be a yearly thing, and new names will be added to the trophy every year. So good stuff here. My only criticism would have been I would have liked to have seen Joe and Cole get a longer match without the outside interference, but oh well. I feel kind of bad for Ruby Soho. Once again, coming up short, but I pretty much thought we were going with the boyfriend-girlfriend winners, and that's exactly what they did. And the sharpshooter from Ruby was not great. I will say that much. I do agree with Angry Tacos. Walter Cruz with a $5 super chat says the Owen Hart tournament should have been in one night, like a King of the Ring winner would have to wrestle 3 times in one night. R.I.P. Owen. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, I don't think they want to dedicate a whole pay-per-view to a tournament, but I miss those tournaments. Like, I always felt like it meant more if you had to win the tournament in one night and compete 3 times in one night. Like, it's a real endurance test. So I do agree with you in that sense, and thank you for the super chat. Moving on here, we had another match that probably did not need to be on the pay-per-view. Sammy Guevara, Frankie Kazarian, and Ty Conti versus Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page, and Paige Van Zant. Paige Van Zant in her debut match with AEW. It seemed like she was mostly focused on trying to keep her shorts up. Like, she kept pulling her shorts up during the match. So wasn't the greatest debut. I mean, wasn't terrible, but I mean, I think she could definitely benefit from some more time in the ring. Basically, the storyline of this match was that Guevara and Conti were just focused on each other the whole time. They were making out during their entrance, and there were moments where they were having issues with Frankie Kazarian. Kazarian was not happy with their PDA. And I felt like it was Guevara and Conti moving in that heel turn direction. Paige Van Zant tagged in, did some stuff with Conti. And there's a little moment where Conti was dropped face first into Guevara's crotch. Crowd loved that. The low blow caused by the girlfriend. And Guevara and Conti regained the upper hand. They started making out again. All was well. Kazarian had enough. He walked out, allowed the two of them to be triple teamed, but then Kazarian did tag himself back in. And then there was more friction, more dissension between Kazarian and Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti. Guevara accidentally kicked Conti in the face, and then Kazarian threw Guevara out of the ring, but then he got hit with the TKO by Scorpio Sky, and Scorpio picked up the win, which means that Scorpio Sky doesn't have to face either Guevara or Kazarian for the TNT title again. It was entertaining, but this was another match that could have been on Dynamite, quite frankly. Crow says, first time in here live, a fan of No DQ since 2002. Wow. Well, I very much appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in. We had Kyle O'Reilly versus Darby Allin. Another match that it was a good match. Did not need to be on the pay-per-view. I always thought that Kyle O'Reilly was a small wrestler, but he looked like a big wrestler in there with Darby Allin, I have to say. It was a solid match. Another back and forth match here. Now, Kyle O'Reilly was taking it right to him right from the get-go. Allen's mouth got busted open, and Allen made a comeback, put on the Scorpion Death Lock, I should say. He hit the Scorpion Death Drop, wasn't able to make the cover. He had the Death Lock on, I think, at one point. And then he went up for the Coffin Drop, but O'Reilly caught him. Allen managed to escape. They traded some blows. And then O'Reilly hit multiple penalty kicks and then came off the top with a diving knee and got the win. So good match here. Could have been on Dynamite. Next up, we had Thunder Rosa versus Serena Deeb for the AEW Women's Title. A very good match here. Lots of mat wrestling. They did a test of strength, and the crowd was really enjoying the technical wrestling here. Rosa put Deeb in a pendulum, and the crowd was chanting, "This is wrestling." Deeb got the upper hand for a while. They exchanged holds. Rosa came back, hit a Death Valley driver. Deeb kicked out of that. Deeb put on the figure 4 and then hit the detox, but Rosa got a foot on the rope, and then Deeb hit a power bomb, put on a cloverleaf submission, but Rosa once again got to the rope, and then Rosa recovered, hit a superplex, and then finished off Deeb with a Fire Thunder driver, retained the championship. I enjoyed the match. I was just getting pretty tired by this point, but very good match here from the ladies. Nice title defense for Thunder Rosa. Serena Deeb is great, so thumbs up for this match. Then we had a crazy-ass match. We had the Jericho Appreciation Society up against the Blackpool Combat Club, Danielson and John Moxley, along with Eddie Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz. Anarchy in the arena. Jericho's crew, they were all wearing matching outfits. You had the good guys coming down through the crowd, and before the match even got started, Justin Roberts was like, shit is about to hit the fan. And sure enough, it did. Everybody started brawling right away in the crowd, and Wild Thing kept playing on loop. Like for the first 5 minutes of this, it was just Wild Thing playing in the arena as these guys were brawling. And eventually Jericho smashed the soundboard and the music stopped. Crowd booed that, but I was kind of relieved. I think I would have had a headache if that music was playing for like 15, 20 minutes. It was kind of funny to do it at the beginning of it. So I'm glad they stopped, though. I will say that. And there's just way too much for me to really talk about here. I mean, I think one of the few negatives of this was that the production team could not really keep up with it, and there were tons of missed shots. Like like somebody was in the execution of a move, and then it would cut away to something else, like two guys setting up a ladder, and we missed the move. That happened several times during this match. That was maybe the only negative. Like the good thing about the Stadium Stampede was that they could edit and polish it up a little bit. So when it's live, it's more raw, and there's more mistakes. But it was fun. It did give the vibe of things being out of control. So in that sense, it was a positive. But yeah, you had people going through tables. You had ladder brought into the match, and you had a barbed wire board that Jon Moxley pulled from under the ring. They were fighting in the stands. There was mustard. They were fighting everywhere in the building. I guess the match had to end in the ring for it to be official. Jericho used a fire extinguisher on Moxley, and Moxley ended up taking apart the ring. So you had the turnbuckle being used. Then we had Eddie Kingston coming down to the ring with gasoline. Now, of course, we all remember Jericho used a fireball on Kingston. Kingston wanted to set Jericho on fire, and Danielson thought that this was too much. I guess Danielson got a little bit of gas on him, and he's like, this is too much. Danielson and Kingston started fighting with each other. So that was kind of the undoing for the good guys. Like they were having their issues, and Moxley ended up being knocked onto that barbed wire board that he set up. Danielson was staying in it though. He got some momentum, and he yelled out that he was going to kick Jericho's effing head in, except he said it uncensored on the pay-per-view. That was great, by the way. I love that line. He was so intense, so filled with the piss and vinegar. But then Hager hit Danielson from behind with a baseball bat, hit him in the leg. And then Jericho and Hager had Danielson down. They were both putting submission moves on him, using the turnbuckle for leverage. And eventually Danielson just passed out. Bad guys win here. I predicted them to win because I felt like this would be the first match and they're going to do blood and guts. And I'm thinking that is exactly what will happen. We will get blood and guts, and that will be when Kingston finally gets his payback. But I mean, this was absolutely insane. Just one of the wildest brawls I've seen on a wrestling show in quite some time. Complete chaos, and I loved every moment of it. It was fantastic. Just a great old school Pier 6 brawl. Everything out of control. Really fun. Then we had the AEW Tag Team titles on the line. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus defending against Team Taz, Keith Lee, and Isaiah Swerve Scott, or Swerve Strickland, whatever his name is these days, whatever he's going by. And this was another really fun tag team match. Might have been better off on a different show, like a Dynamite or a different pay-per-view, just because, you know, there was so many other things happening on this show. But it was really fun. I thought the match was entertaining from start to finish. I like Ricky Starks going up on the top rope, doing the old school while dancing and jiving, and then he got crotched for it. Keith Lee and Swerve work really well together. Swerve did this moonsault coming off of Keith Lee's chest. And yeah, I like all the stuff with the big guys. He got Powerhouse Hobbs in there, Luchasaurus, and Keith Lee. Keith Lee did this crazy dive off the top. You know, that was insane. And Christian was out there. He was helping out his guys, making sure that Starks did not cheat to win. And Luchasaurus accidentally kicked Jungle Boy at one point. Lee and Swerve hit the powerbomb stomp combo on Jungle Boy, but Hobbs broke up the pin. And then Starks tried to cheat again. He had the FTW title. He hit Lee with it, but then Christian pulled Starks to the outside. And with him out of the way, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy hit the Jurassic Express finisher on Swerve and retain the tag team title. So another nice championship retention. Thumbs up for this one. And now we're finally to the main event. CM Punk versus Hangman Adam Page. AEW World Title on the line. The two of them had a stare down. Crowd was, I think, mostly behind CM Punk, but it was very split down the middle. I would say 50-50, kind of like a Hogan and Warrior vibe, where you could definitely hear boos for both guys and cheers for both of them. You had the CM Punk cowboy shit dueling chants, and they exchanged chops in the early moments. Both of them were milking the crowd reactions. They went to the outside of the ring. Page got the upper hand at this point, and Page power bombed Punk on the ring apron, hit a flying lariat, but Punk kicked out of that. And then Punk got in some offense, hit a superplex, built up some momentum, but could not finish off Page. They were back on the outside of the ring, and Page hit his moonsault that he does in every big match. However, he started selling his knee, and that would be a factor for the remainder of the match. Page attempted a buckshot lariat, but had issues due to the knee. Punk got on the sharpshooter, and again, not a great sharpshooter. Page got to the rope, and then Punk went for the buckshot lariat. However, he botched coming in over the top, and then he went for it again, and same thing. He botched it a second time. He did hit the lariat, but yeah, he botched coming in twice, and the second time you could see he was visibly frustrated with it, and I think he even said something to the live crowd after the show. Crowd booed heavily for this. Like, they booed the botch pretty hard. Match continued. Page kicked out of that, and then Page hit the Deadeye. Punk kicked out of that, like very much the last possible moment. It was like 2.999. And then Page hit the GTS on Punk, but Punk kicked out of that. And then Page started selling his knee again, and that's when Page started to show the frustrations. They were on the outside of the ring. Punk was thrown over the timekeeper table, and Page was acting heelish. He was saying, "You're never going to get the world title." He held it up. He started trash talking. They were back in the ring, and then Page went for the buckshot lariat again. Punk caught him. Punk was going to hit the GTS, but as he was going for it, referee got knocked down. Page hit the lariat. Referee was down, and Page was feeling desperate. And they basically did the WrestleMania 8 finish when Roddy Piper had the ring bell. He hesitated, and it cost him. This was basically the same thing where Page had the world title, could have retained if he just used it, but he did the right thing. He dropped the title. Then he went for the lariat one more time. Punk caught him, hit the GTS, and scored the 1-2-3 victory, making CM Punk the new AEW World Champion. First time CM Punk has been a world champion since the 2013 Royal Rumble. Fun match here, other than the botches from Punk. Solid main event here. And I like the finish, definitely had that WrestleMania 8 Roddy Piper versus Bret Hart vibe to it. So I liked that. And, Page did the right thing. He He dropped the title. I mean, literally dropped the title, and obviously dropped the title in the sense of losing to CM Punk. And CM Punk is your new AEW World Champion. Overall, show was great. I thought it was very entertaining. However, this was the longest AEW event to date. Almost 5 hours, not including the pre-show. The main pay-per-view card went 4 hours and 40 minutes. That is too long, and I will use the same energy for AEW that I do with WWE. Those WrestleManias they were doing a couple years back, way too damn long. And it's just hard to really stay invested. I give credit to the Las Vegas crowd. They did stay pretty hot for the last few matches. There were times where they got quiet, but for the last couple matches, they got back into it. And it was overall a really good crowd atmosphere in Las Vegas, but it's too much as a viewer. Like 2.5 hours to me is a perfect length for a wrestling show. And this was almost double that. I think they could have easily cut out maybe 3 matches from this show, and that they could have done the 4-hour show. But honestly, I would be fine with a 3-hour show or even a 3.5-hour show for a compromise. 8 matches tops, and just make sure each match is a top tier match that's worthy of being on that card. So overall, I'm giving the show an A-. It's a must-watch show in my opinion. AEW always delivers on pay-per-view. This was another great show, definitely worth your time in checking out. But I feel like it's one of those shows where you might get more enjoyment if you watch it in segments, like watch a third of it and then watch the other 2/3 at a later time. I just think you would be able to appreciate it more. It's just so long. But yeah, overall, A-. Great show. And that's all I got for tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning in. NoDQ.com will keep you updated with the latest news and rumors. You can check out the results over there from every match. And I appreciate everybody tuning in very late here. I suppose I'd be better with this if I was on the West Coast still, but hey, it is what it is. Even on the West Coast, I think I'd be pretty burned out watching a 4-hour, 40-minute pay-per-view and then coming on live to talk about it. It's just a lot. But overall, another strong pay-per-view effort from AEW. And by the way, shout out to my wife's dad, Bill. Hope you're doing well. You're probably sleeping right now, but you'll watch this later, I'm sure. Thank you all again. Take care. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com. See you all next time.